Hello, we've got a big topic today. I'll tell you what, on this Tuesday, we have got a very big topic. We are going to start with what the name of the topic is, how I have described what we're going to talk about today. It is, what can we do to reduce gun violence? That's our topic today. What can we do? And I want you to pay attention to the words that I have used, because you will notice that I have not used gun rights or gun control. And these words are important to me because I want us to open ourselves to conversation. I have 4 guests today, and let me tell you why I chose these guests. I chose them, 3 of them, because they identify with a party: Republican, Independent, Democrat, and I must say I'm sorry that I don't have a Libertarian on.
I'll do.
Okay, there you go, John. There's a 5th idea there.
Very good.
That people hold positions, personal positions, that are close to the criteria that I went looking for. They're not closed to listening to ideas of others, and that is the #1 criteria I'm looking for. Not closed to listening to ideas. All right, so who are the people that are on our panel? We have Jay Clough. He's on the phone with us right now. Hi, Jay. Hey, good. Jay is a Democrat. He's a former Marine. He served 2 tours where? Iraq or Afghanistan? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, but you are a former Marine? Oh, okay, great. All right. And we also have Shirley Hankins. She identifies herself as an independent. She served 24 years in the state legislature as a Republican, but has now moved over to the independent side. We also have Wanda Munn. She is a Republican. She served as a Richland City Council member. She's a nuclear engineer. So we have an interesting group of people. Our 4th person on this panel is going to be you, the caller. You have open access to our conversation today as well. So, all of that going on. You know what? This whole issue of what to do with gun violence has become one of the most divisive issues of our time, and what it has resulted in is that we have 2 polar opposite ends, and we basically shout at each other, but we don't converse very much about it. Today's purpose is simply to talk about it. We have households in the U.S., about 117 million households that have guns in the home. We have about 310 million guns in the U.S., and these are estimates because, of course, we have no idea actually how many there are. We have the highest per capita guns to people in the world. We have more guns in our country than in any other country of the world. Gun deaths and injuries. Gun deaths, there are 33,000 approximately gun deaths a year. Most of those, the highest number of those, are suicides. We have spent billions of dollars on gun violence. Basically, those are medical costs and also court costs. So we have a lot of issues that are going on in this. And of course, then we have the Second Amendment as it's currently described. So what I thought we'd do, I've got about 4 or 5 kind of topic areas that I thought we would talk about. And I want to start with the biggest one, the one that seems to be the sparkly object that people get distracted by and go to that corner and yell. And that is, what do we think about the proposal to take away all guns from citizens? What about you? Wanda, what do you think about that idea?
Don't be silly.
Okay.
The Second Amendment was written by people who spent a lot of time thinking about this, and who had good reason to write it into our Constitution. The Second Amendment is there to make sure that the ordinary citizen has protection from a government that overreaches its bounds. That's a very simple way to look at what the Second Amendment means, and all the other things that we throw at it are pretty much distractions and fluff. Therefore, I don't see that there's an issue. It's, as Jay has said, it's so ridiculous, I don't think that it's worthy of our time. No.
I wish we would stop wasting our time talking about that, because it does not seem the least bit realistic. Do you have any disagreements or any other thoughts about that, Shirley?
No, I have no disagreements with that. I just know it's never going to happen.
Yeah. Would you like it to happen though?
No.
Okay, all right. So we've marked that off the list. And viewer, listeners, I'm still in the viewer, but listeners, if you would like to chime in on any of our conversation today, give us a call, 547-8726. All right, what about this next idea that has often been talked about? That is registering all guns so that all citizens would have to register all the guns that they own. 547-8726. Shirley, what do you think about registering all guns? And I think that's a really good point, that we always have to come back to the center goal, which is to reduce violence.
Well, I believe that under the federal law now, most guns are already registered, and if they aren't, then we've got a problem in the jurisdiction. I think registering guns is not the issue here. I think the fact is that anybody can get a gun very easily in this country, and that's the problem.
Okay.
I think that that's a great program, and they have done that in the past. I don't know if it's still an active program, and that he may have the right idea. Education with a gun is the appropriate thing to do, because most of the people who have guns that I know use them to go hunting, and they don't use these huge automatic weapons. I mean, that's not the way you hunt. And
No.
if you go hunting just to kill something, that's not a good idea either.
All right, so gun education, and even for younger people, I think looks like a really good idea. I'm making a list here of what seem to be collective good ideas. Wanda, would you agree with gun education in school? Because, you know, I think right now it's probably zeroed in on some of the, like, young Marines, maybe, I don't even know if the Boy Scouts do that anymore. I don't know where other training, unless it's an individual person.
Now we're getting off into an entirely different topic. And what we've been talking about here is fraught with despair, because everything that's been suggested is probably necessary but not sufficient. We're talking about what can we do to prevent gun violence. And gun education is fine for people who wish to be educated. What we need to keep in mind is that gun violence in the United States is more than 70% located in gang warfare. Almost all of the serious killings that occur, although they are not widely publicized as a school shooting would be,
Mm-hmm.
most of them actually are based in the gun violence atmosphere that pervades gangs. Those of us, certainly people like myself who live in the West, who grew up in this kind of outdoor culture, have an entirely different perspective with respect to guns and gun education and its place, which of course is important. Certainly not in any way diminishing that importance. But my point is, if we're going to talk about how do we reduce gun violence, shouldn't we be looking at the first and foremost largest collection of gun violence that we see? How can we ignore a 70% statistic?
Okay, good point, Wanda. Oh, I'm sorry we lost that caller.
Well, make sure you call back.
Yeah, I'll give you that number again. It's 547-8726. All right, well, Wanda, that's a good point.
You know, and I think that you could apply that scenario to other, although they're apples and oranges. Some people say, well, are we going to do away with cars because we have drunk drivers? Are we going to do away with this because of this? I think that it is a deadly symptom of an underlying situation that needs to be dealt with. And I think that education is important, safety is important, but from the libertarian part of me, I personally view, and I've studied with News Talk on our website and the news, all these different Facebook ads that pop up. gun registration, every time you turn around, some special interest group says we need more restrictions, more restrictions, more restrictions. Well, restrictions aren't going to do anything to curb the underlying problem of criminals getting guns, violence. It's just going to put more restrictions on law-abiding gun owners. But
Well,
how
I'm
is
not,
that
I'm
gonna
not, I'm not
prevent-
sure that I would totally agree with that. I mean, so we're looking for ideas that would restrict people from getting guns who wish to harm others. Let's add. Welcome back on Meet in the Middle today. We're talking about what can we do to reduce gun violence. My guests today that are either on the phone or here: Jay Clough, Democrat; Shirley Hankins, Independent; Wanda Munn, Republican. We have our fourth guest is you, the caller. We have talked about already the idea of taking all guns away. We've pretty much ruled that out. We've looked at the possibility of registering all guns. I'm not sure we have any, obviously, no consensus on that. I want to talk about this idea, making certain guns that are like killing guns or military style guns illegal. Of course, all guns are killing guns, but I mean military style guns illegal. Would that help us reduce gun violence? Wanda, what do you think about the ban on assault type weapons or military style weapons?
I wish we had better statistics. I don't know the information that has to do with how effective the ban on Thompson machine guns was in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
In olden days, it was illegal to possess an automatic device of that type unless the pin was removed so that the trigger could not be pulled. I assume from what I've read that that was a fairly effective method of reducing the ownership of weapons that fired a large number of bullets rapidly. But I can't speak to that. It would be wise, I think, if we could look at programs that work. I think Jay had a real point when he indicated that there's a difference between military type weapons and the other things that we call guns in this country, certainly. I can't think of any good reason why civilians ordinarily should have access to them. What if you're going to own one, just because it's neat to own one, that needs some sort of rationale that I frankly don't see personally.
You know, I used to think that myself, and then I started doing a lot of reading, and what came to me was the understanding that I believe, anyway, that it's that group of people, and I believe that they are a minority, but they're a very loud minority, that want to have this type of weapon to react to a government that they feel is taking them over, or that there is some need to rise up against the government. That is that. So in the past, Congress has not been able to pass a law that bans assault type military style weapons. Wanda, go ahead. You had a comment.
Yes, I did have a comment. My concern has to do with what are you calling an assault rifle? I think the devil often is in the definition, and we do not have, I believe, a clear definition of what I mean when I say an assault rifle, what you mean when you say an assault rifle, and what Jay means when he says an assault rifle. Unless we have that information in front of us, our debate really doesn't have teeth.
That brings up another question.
Yeah.
Because some years ago, the Washington State Legislature was told by the Washington State Patrol Chief that it was time to buy new guns for the patrol because the bad guys' guns had more bullets and worked faster than the guns they had.
Mm-hmm.
And that we allowed them to buy that gun that was their personal gun when they were on the patrol. And then we bought them bigger guns. And so I don't feel that we should be giving them something with, 40 or 50 clips, that they have to carry more clips around with them. I think that at this point, that's where we need to stop, and banning anything never solves the problem. It doesn't make any difference.
Go ahead, Jay.
That's all right.
I think it's pretty obvious that there is no silver bullet, as it were. There is no one way that is going to reduce gun violence in our country. So we have to pick away at all of the smaller pieces. What can we do that might take a little bit of the edge off? Let's go ahead and add a caller to our conversation right now. How are you doing today? Yeah. What do you think about it? First of all, we don't want to take them away from law-abiding citizens. And I personally get tired of hearing that as a constant refrain, because no one wants to, well, I'm sure there are some. The majority of people do not want to take away all guns. No, that's not, no. We're looking for ideas, though, that we can reduce gun violence. So, people getting illegal guns. So I think we already knew this was a big topic, that's for sure, how to reduce gun violence in our society. I want to thank our guests, Jay Clough, Shirley Hankins, Wanda Munn, and I want to thank all of you who called in, and of course the folks that are listening today. It cannot be solved with just one plan, one master idea. It is not, there's so many different layers, but if we begin at least to talk about it, that's my goal for today, that we at least create an environment where we start talking about it, and then we also secondarily expect those people that we elected to do something about it.
And identify the areas, what is contributing.
Yes, yes, oh,
You know, there's
the
a lot
whole
of things
area,
like
yes,
that.
yes,
You know,
absolutely.
whether it's drinking and driving, drug abuse, there are always underlying causes, and it seems like regardless of the issue, we keep throwing Band-Aids on stuff.
Good
You know,
point.
if you fix a lot of the underlying issues, you will see, I think, a reduction in not just
Well,
that,
I don't
but a
know if we
lot
can
of
fix
societal.
that big, that's a societal
Well,
thing, but we can take
you
little
can work
stabs
on
at
it.
things. I think that we could take a little step and then another step and then another step, instead of waiting as if the whole thing were gonna be solved all at once. I don't think that's
Oh,
possible.
Christy, that will never happen.
No, it won't.
But we
No.
can do it by steps.
Step by
I think you got
step.
a point there, but I think it's time that the National Rifle Association got involved
Yeah.
in trying to solve the problem.
All right, great day today. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I have Steve Prince on the air with us. He's with Veterans Benefits Office. He's helped more than 30,000 people. It'll be a good program. See you tomorrow.